All right, hello everyone. Good morning, happy weekend. Let's see, I didn't post the links here. All right, that one doesn't work. How's it going, Dexter? Good morning. Twitch. Okay. And one more thing here. Let's go to right on this side. All right. Here we are. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tim, for those that might be new or watching the VOD in the future, and I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. We're going to be working on CircuitPython game today. Let's get to the camera. CircuitPython version of this old Nintendo Game & Watch Octopus game. How's it going, DJ Devin? Good morning. Well, morning where I'm at. Probably the first thing I'll get started on today is the actual Octopus object. I think we have an object for it, but it doesn't have any behavior yet. So that's what I'll be probably getting started with. Taking a step back though, if you're new to this, watching the video, and you don't know what we're working on, CircuitPython is the language we're using. This is basically an implementation of Python that runs on these tiny computers, such as this one, although it's very dark and it's inside of a 3D printed case, so you can't see it very well in this case. But this device is actually this PyGamer right here. Mine's just in a case. So this basically, let's see, we can't see the back of it on this page. If we go to the product page, we could. This is basically a tiny computer, you know, all in one on this little handheld gaming device. The chip right here is the main computer. This is a microcontroller, and this is what we're writing our Python code to run on. It gets run by this chip, and it's able to interact with all the other things on the board. Like obviously this one has an SD card and a microphone, or not microphone rather, but speaker, headphone slot. There's another speaker plug in here. There's even a tiny speaker on board, I think. I want to say. Maybe I'm wrong about that part. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it. Maybe I was wrong about that bit, but and then of course on the front we've got lots of neat stuff on this one. It's got a joystick, it's got a screen, it's got a couple of buttons for A, B, and start and select, and then it's got a row of RGB LEDs down there. And this is kind of one type of microcontroller, is this little handheld game device, but there are all sorts of different shapes and sizes of these things. This just happens to be the one that we are working with right now. If you go to circuitpython.org on the downloads page, you can find a bunch of other examples of different form factors and sizes and shapes that these things come in. And of course, they all have different, specifications, different abilities, different things built in. Like this one's got an e-ink screen, and some of them have alligator clip pads, and some of them have tiny pads for breadboards, and all kinds of different stuff here. So take a look around there if you want to learn more. I will go ahead and jump in. We don't really need these. Guess I'll just go with a blank one for now. We don't necessarily need any browser page yet. How's it going, C. Grover? Good morning. Actually, I guess what I'll do is I'll pull up the video of the Game & Watch Octopus playing, because that's what we were kind of like basing all of this on. Hey, I saw myself in there. Yeah, I think this... Oh, I'm in the research results too for Game & Watch Octopus. That's funny. Probably only my own. I don't know. Skip. This is the original game. It's like a little handheld game. I guess this came out in the 80s. I'm not exactly sure if they had them in North America. I've found a couple online, and they seem to overwhelmingly be shipping from Japan. So Nintendo, of course, is a Japanese company, so I don't know if possibly there were more of them over there than over here in the 80s. They've also re-released these things. There's a more modern version of some of these Game & Watch games. I don't know about specifically the Octopus, but I've seen some newer Zelda ones floating around that have more advanced screens than this, I think. So this is one of the originals where the screen is essentially, just a background image, and it's able to fill in a series of these black, sprites, essentially. It can either hide them or show them, and that's kind of the only ability that the screen has in this case. So we've mimicked a lot of that behavior with our CircuitPython code. Let's jump in. So let's see, last night we don't need that. Last night we were working on web workflow stuff, so I'm going to close some of this. Need any of this. Let's organize here a bit and find our drive, CodePy. So let's just take a quick stock of where we're actually at right now. We have an Octopus game object. Inside the Octopus game object, it's got a couple variables for controlling some of the behaviors. It's got a couple state variables for making a state machine. So Mario Brothers version is pretty impressive, but not on LCD. LCD makes it easier to replicate for microcontrollers, for sure. Yeah, although our display capabilities are pretty good at this point. We could probably do a little bit of the newer stuff. Now, if it's got like HD screen or something like this, it's not quite to that territory yet, for sure. But so we've got a game object. Inside the game object, it's going to be creating some images to show, like the background, the extra life divers, which are these two up here on the boat. Let's see, the player. So this is another one of our custom objects, the diver player, and the octopus. It is loading up an image with a tile grid, a 2-tile sprite sheet for the caught diver, which is the diver that's right in here when the octopus actually catches him. Let's see if we can find that. I think it does it right towards the beginning. Well, you can see it there because everything is on, but of course that's not representative of a real state. I think he gets caught on the first try here, though. Maybe? Yeah, okay, he runs into that one. So this diver right here, we have a 2-tile sprite sheet set up in a tile grid for that one. Let's see. Got some helper functions for controlling a few of the behaviors, like hiding and showing the caught diver. Boat diver, this is the one specifically that is in the top left. This one up here. Sometimes he has a bag, sometimes he doesn't. It can be drawn either way. It just depends, like right there, the bag went away. So it's, when he's pulling the bag up, basically he's getting bags from the treasure down here. When he comes back, he has a bag. And then when he gets back to the boat, he'll pull the bag up to like take the treasure and put it onto the boat. Look like Nintendo 64-bit graphics. Yeah, not yet. We will, I bet we will get there though. It's definitely come a long way just in the time that I've been involved too, as far as our graphics, so like, I have no doubt. Especially as the microcontrollers level up, right? Like, the thing is, like, we need pretty powerful computer because it's also interpreting the Python code. We're not compiling the Python code and then putting it into the microcontroller. It's actually interpreting the text for CodePy and all of these files. There is MPY, which is a sort of like a compiled version for the libraries and such, but the actual code it's got to interpret. So we do need pretty powerful computer to both be able to interpret that Python code quickly and execute it, as well as, of course, draw lots of fancy things on a nice big screen and, 3D effects, especially if we're talking Nintendo 64. Like, Mario 64, it was like, maybe not quite exactly 3D, but like it played with perspective to make it feel like a 3D world, certainly. How's it going, Johnny? Good morning. Well, probably not morning for you, but morning for me. Good day, good weekend. Thanks for tuning in. So we've got, that's our boat diver. There's not much else. Okay, the score. I did put the score in. Right now it's showing the clock on this one, but I've got it set up with just some zeros to show the score. They don't quite line up with the background shadow yet. We'll tweak the font later on, I think. That's our game. So then let's look real quick at our diver player. Diver player basically is a sprite sheet. It uses this diver sprite sheet, single layer, uses this sprite sheet. It loads it up into a tile grid. So, the tile grid is always showing one of the sprites in this sprite sheet. Whoops. Whoa. Whoa. Wait, what? There's a color picker? Can I use it on this? No. Can I use it on this? Oh, yes, actually. Interesting. And the hex value gets auto. I could just copy it right out of there. The more you know. Color picker. I had no idea. Anyway, our diver player is a sprite sheet. Using that sheet, it shows one of those sprites at a time, and it can just change between them. The diver player object, it also manages the diver's location, because there's one of, I don't know, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations that the diver player object can be in. So it manages which one of those locations it's currently in, and it changes its XY coordinates to be in the next or the previous location. It keeps track of how many treasure the player has picked up out of the treasure chest so far. It can change back and forth to the bag sprites as necessary when you do have treasure. 1710 over there, so good evening for you, perhaps, then. 2.5-inch, 3.5-inch TFTs. Can do 32-bit true color in Arduino, but not CircuitPython yet. Yeah. I think that's something to do with the way that we store numbers, maybe? I'm not entirely sure, though, so I probably wouldn't take my word on it. Let's see. And so then diver player, it basically has some helper functions like move forward, move backwards. That way the game can just call these high-level concepts, move forward and move backwards, and not worry about like XY locations or which one of the 5 it is. It can just tell it like, hey, player pressed the right button, so go forward 1. And this loaded images, bitmaps, and then tile grids. Essentially 1 for every tentacle segment. And all of those are on the Octopus object, and then what we'll be making is some logic that hides and shows those as needed as various things happen. We do have on game, we have the show caught diver method, which will manipulate some of the tile grid segments in the Octopus, as well as hide caught diver. But what we need is inside the Octopus tick, it basically needs to like check each tentacle and decide to either extend it farther out or not, or retract it back in or not, basically. And as far as I can tell, watching this game on YouTube, the logic seems to be the tentacles are always moving in a direction. So right now, this tentacle is extending. And from what I can tell, that means that every game tick, every frame of the game, it's going to basically randomly decide whether it wants to move out to the next segment or not. So it either will spawn the next segment or it won't spawn the next segment, and it will just wait until the next game tick and then decide again randomly. And then once it gets all the way to the tick, to the tip, it's basically just the reverse. It then starts deciding each frame, do I want to retract one segment or not? So you see right now, like all of them are extending, but they don't go in the same order the whole time, right? Like it's kind of, or do they? Do they go in the same order the whole time? So did this one? Oh, they do. Oh. See, I thought it was random. It's basically, in that mode, it looked like it was just cycling through them. Maybe it chose the initial order at random, I guess, but... I think we'll maybe make a random one. I mean, the other thing is I don't actually have one of these things, so I kind of just have to go off of what we can see in videos like this. This one's only, 6.5 minutes. They run through a lot of the play of it, but we can't, like, I can't sit there and play with it over and over again and just get a feel for how it works. They must not be going in order, though, because we had it as this one all the way out, and then the other ones were, like, not out at all. Like, right there, this one's all the way. Was that because it was the last one? But it's still going out. Oh, that one's retracting. Interesting. It does seem to go in that order, though. I don't know. We'll play with it a bit. Once we get it coded up too, we'll play the game a bit and see how it feels, right? Like, ultimately, we're trying to make a game that we want to be hopefully fun a little bit, right? It's obviously a very basic game, so, it's a limited amount of fun you could probably have playing it. It's got limited replay value and such, but, like, we do want it to be kind of fun to play, so that's also will come into the judgment here. YouTube player's fun. I went to 144p. Thought I had a stroke. Yeah, it automatically automatically gets you down. Lost the stream. Oh, did we? Okay, we cut out there a bit on the stream. I didn't even notice. I actually have music running in a different tab, and it never did skip. So it must have been a relatively short buffer. Sure, that doesn't help my actual streaming capabilities, but I do like listening to music. Saw someone play Octopus. They got past 999, and the scoreboard rolls over. The speed goes back to the beginning, and the game starts over. That's pretty funny. It's not completely randomized. Are there only 3? Well, there's 4 digits, I guess. But maybe it doesn't use the first digit for time, though, I guess. I just assumed it would use all 4 for the... Well, I don't think this person even gets into the hundreds, as I recall it, but... 999. Wow, you would have to play for so long. I couldn't do that. At that point, I would write a program to play it for me, even though that's not, cheating or whatever, right? And I probably would spend more time writing a program than just playing it to 999, but I wouldn't last. So, do we want to randomize the order? Let's see the start of another game and see if it goes in that same order, because it was this tentacle, this tentacle, this tentacle, and then this tentacle, and it seemed to go in that order the whole time when we were watching before. But if we start over on a new game, let's see if it chooses a new order. Okay, it went a little fast for me, actually. Did it? It's definitely a different order, and it's definitely faster, too. See, this one feels a lot more random to me. Maybe it's not. But they do somehow get out of sync. So if they're not random, how do they get out of sync? Okay, well, what we definitely have is a series of tentacles that are moving, extending out and retracting back. The way that I think I want to represent that is going to be lists inside of the Octopus object. Unfortunately, though, it's going to be after, well, I don't know, it's not unfortunate really, but it's going to be after these billions of tile grids get created here. We're basically going to have self.tentacle 0A is going to get its own list. Tentacle 0B is going to get a list. Tentacle 1 is going to get a list. I have the tentacles indexed as 0 is this one. 0A is specifically the one that comes out like this. 0B is actually the one that's being drawn here. It comes more down. This one is tentacle 1. This one is tentacle 2. This one is tentacle 3. Tentacle 2, is it 2 or no, it's 1. Tentacle 1, this one, is the only other one with an A and a B, and it actually only uses the B when the diver is caught. The B is just one little tip right here, and it shows when the diver gets caught. So Tentacle 0 is actually the only one where A and B are both valid paths during normal gameplay. So it's going to get the 2 lists. Tentacle 1 doesn't need 2 lists since it won't use B during normal gameplay. We're going to say Tentacle 2 and Tentacle 3. Tentacle? And these will, of course, get things in them. And I think what I'm going to put in them is just the tile grids in order. So 0, 0. 0, 1. 0A. Oh, wait. No, we did that wrong. I should copy these. Let me do this. These are already in order, I think. Okay, so that's all for A. Then B gets its own list. And we're basically just going to keep track separately whether we're using list A or list B at the current time. Because it basically extends all the way on one, and then retracts all the way, and then extends all the way on the other one. And then just repeats that cycle. Retracts all the way, extends back on the first one. Back and forth. Metronome audio beep as the game goes, which gets faster with more treasure. Interesting. We'll have to see. I'll try to, well, I guess I have it muted. Maybe I'll turn on the sound and try to listen. I will say I have kind of an irrational hatred of metronomes. Or not really hatred, but I cannot take metronomes for very long. It starts to really bother me. I was in marching band in high school, and we used a metronome to keep count on the marching field, and they put the metronome in front of a bullhorn, like a voice amplifying bullhorn, and it made the most god-awful tick sound that you can like feel in your spine. And I can't. When I hear a metronome, I feel it, and I get super. I don't like it. It bothers me. Yeah, I don't even like thinking about it right now. So we'll see. If it sounds too like, of course, this little beeper shouldn't be able to make that sound that's really going to trigger that, but if it sounds too much like a metronome, it will bother me, and I probably won't put it in for that reason, or at least I'll make a Boolean for it so I can turn it off. And so this one is going to have all the A side, so 1A. And the only thing that 1B, Tentacle 1B, the only thing that's used for is when we caught the diver. We'll have to see too about the speaker, I guess, is probably going to make a huge difference in the beeping if we do put a beep in it, because does it have a built-in... Do I still have the product page up? I think I closed it, didn't I? Does it actually have a built-in speaker? I was thinking it did, but I didn't see it in the... I guess that's what we were looking at, was the photo there. Yeah, I didn't see it in the photo. More volume. Okay, it does. Well, does it? Oh, okay, no, 3.5 millimeter. You plug into the 3.5 millimeter, or you can use the tiny little two pin speaker setup thingy on the back. I don't know what the name for it is. It's like JST type thing, maybe. Video you're watching is so slow, so low in score, you're not going to notice the speed increase, which is probably like 0.0001 something linear to a max score of 1,000. PyPortal has a built-in speaker. Yeah, PyPortal does for sure. Yeah, definitely. PyGamer though is what we got this on. So it basically just gets everything gets faster, right? The game tick essentially gets faster. Is that, I understand that right? Because we do have everything set up with a game tick function. There's not a lot of actual behavior in it, obviously. In this one, there's nothing. I do intend to do that, and there will be delays for like how long to wait between taking action. So we can make that a variable as well, to where it'll speed up by taking less time in between actions, and it could based on the score. So that's good to know. We'll implement that kind of behavior a bit. And I'll have to figure out what's a good starting speed. It looks fairly slow. Although I guess it did speed up in that at that one point in the video. Oh dear. I guess we don't really need this to be so wide. It's better. Wish I could double click and get the whole thing inside the parentheses here instead of just after the dot. I guess it depends though. Sometimes I want just after the dot, but other times I don't. I guess I wish I could triple click and it would expand to the stuff inside the parentheses before it expanded to the whole line. It's very nitpicky though. Game tick, clock speed or something. Nice. Okay, yeah, we'll set that up to be a variable eventually. So now I've got lists for each tentacle. The other thing I need is the current direction for each tentacle. And I think I'm just going to make variables for these. Whoops. What? Oh. So to start with, they're all going to be extending. PyBadge has an onboard speaker and or add-on, no headphone jack. I gotcha. It's one of the few minor differences between PyBadge and PyGamer. They're pretty close, but if it has a speaker, you can mod in an audio jack. Yeah, you definitely could on the PyBadge. And then the PyGamer just has the 3.5 already audio jack. For front panels, nice. The other thing we need for Tentacle 1, what did I just do? Page up, page down? Page down, I guess, okay. For Tentacle 1, we need to know whether we are currently taking the A path or the B path. We don't need that for any other tentacles, though. Tentacle 1, So we could either call it like current list and it could just store one of the lists, or we could make it a Boolean or a number or something and assign values. I think I like the Boolean. And I guess we could have done a Boolean for this as well. It's all right. Whoops. Path A, path B. We start on path A. Light version is great if you don't need stemma or the wing headers like with standalone games. Yeah, got a mag tag. It's super low power. Been running on battery for more than a week, pulling weather info. That's awesome. Works amazing for a low power device. Yeah, that's super cool. The mag tag, the way it can sleep and do like a one-shot fetch data, put it on the screen, go back to sleep, and last for so long. That's pretty cool though. A week on the battery. It's definitely a neat type of like interactions you can get with a thing like that. Just slowly looking up useful information over the long term. Do we need anything else to decide what we're doing? I guess the one other thing we need is for each tentacle, we need the current, current index. Currently, the furthest out segment that is currently showing. And I think I just want it as an index of inside the list. I'm gonna call it cur index. I don't know. I'll keep thinking. Maybe we come up with a more descriptive name. So right now they're all gonna be. Well, so right now none of them are actually showing. So do we want to make this -1? Or do we want to make it 0? I think we want to make it -1. And ultimately, though, this should also be 0. Okay. No, 2500 milliamp hour battery. Got the big battery in case of a hurricane, though it's still dependent on Wi-Fi for weather data. Working on doing some online-offline version with a BMP sensor. Nice, yeah. Once you get a sensor built in, you can have some local data. It's also cool to be able to have local sensor data just to compare to the stuff it gets from the network. Sometimes it's off by a decent amount, just depending on where the stations are at in your area. Okay, I think we have all of the actual, like, bits of info we need. So then inside tick. So originally I was thinking like this would be a for loop looping over the segments, or not the segments, but rather the tentacles. Like a loop from 0 to 3 for each of the tentacles. I think that's going to get a bit. It probably could be done, but I think it's going to get a bit awkward because there's going to be slightly different logic for some of them, like tentacle 0 especially, because of the A-B split. I think instead I'm just going to have it just look at each one at a time here. So the first thing we're going to do is handle tentacle 0. And the way that we're going to handle it is basically Well, here we do have to decide, I guess, if we want it to be random or... I guess the other thing is if we wanted to choose an order, we could choose an order, but that would be a little bit difficult if we don't have that dynamic thing going through these. See if we can tell if it changes order. Yeah, it's definitely going in a different order this time than it was the time when we saw it originally. It's much faster right now, too. Maybe it's not, actually. It is in the same order. Oh, this one got skipped extra long. I don't know what happened there. Did he get caught? No, that's where he would have been if he got caught. I don't know, that one felt like an extra long skip. Looks like a new game is starting in here somewhere. It seems like so far the order has been pretty consistent. 0, 2, 1, 3. 0, 2, 1, 3. 0, 2, 1, 3. Yeah, this one it totally is. Let's see if we can find one more, maybe. Wow, this one's 58 minutes. Turbo. I don't know what they do. House rentals or something? Is that like, what you call it? Airbnb? Yeah. One has sped up a bit. We're still on like quarter speed, but it's actually moving pretty quick. But yeah, it still does have the same order. Sometimes it skips though. Like here it didn't do 1. I don't know why it decided to skip. Maybe that's the random chance we give it, is maybe there's a random heads or tails coin flip and it can choose to skip for the turn if it wants. That'll help him get out of sync as well. I guess will probably happen naturally because of 0, 1, and 0 for A and B, just different sizes on each of them. Okay, so let's make it the same order. 0, 2, 1, 3. Let's see, let me catch up here. Yeah, let's see. Might get a Pi Gamer in case of a hurricane, something to play with, yeah. Any idea how long the Pi Gamer lasts on a battery? Here's mine in a, here's the time in the video that shows the score rollover. Warning, the audio beats might drive you. Yeah, thank you. Load up in a bit here. I don't know exactly. I know the battery, so I've got a battery inside the case. And it's basically like, I think the little one that comes with this. Yeah. I've basically got this battery, which is not very big. It's only 350 milliamps. So it's quite small, but it's also quite small physically as well. Doesn't take up a lot of room, and it's not heavy. And it can run for at least an hour or two on that. I've definitely had it on running off battery power for at least an hour or two. I don't know that I've ever pushed it much farther than that personally. And I also didn't have a fuel gauge or anything, so I don't know, like, after an hour or two, how close to dead was it or not. Oh, yep, 9.9. Wow, it's going super. Am I still on quarter speed? No, okay. That's still really fast. That's funny. We should make an Easter egg or something. You should get, like, I don't know, maybe one of the tentacles turns into Blinka or something. We should add something if you make it to there other than just rolling over. That's pretty funny though. And yeah, it got way slower too. It's funny. Thanks for the link. How's it going, Axel Magnus? Pole position on F1, now ready to follow the development of the game. Oh, you used to play it in high school. That's awesome. Pole position. Is that does that mean they won? They got first place? Sorry, I'm not up on the racing terminology, but I assume F1 you mean car racing, and then pole position, I guess probably that's did well. Person you wanted to win did well. Blinka in the boat. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, pop up in the boat over there. Or the pirate boat even. Pirate blanket. Pirate Blinka. I wonder if there is a Blinka with a little pirate hat on somewhere. There are a bunch of different photos of Blinka that are kind of like in different contexts like that. There could be a pirate one. I don't know what it would have been made for. There's a pirate language for CircuitPython. Maybe they would have made one for that. What's that? Yeah. Well, for just, it's kind of basically just a test language. It was like for testing a language that is still legible to English readers, but definitely has differences. You blink at an eye patch. So Tentacle 0, we basically, based on whether we are extending or retracting, we're gonna increment or decrement the index. And then after we do that, we are going to basically then need to hide or show a segment based on that happening. So if Tentacle, we start on 0 or should we start on 1? Do we do the hard one first or the hard one second? I know there's really only 2 options here, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the full if statement here instead of just else. That way you can read the code and you know what part of it it counts for, essentially. So if we are extending, we don't have any tentacles to hide. We just need to increment the index. We need to check to make sure that we don't go past the end of our tentacle list. So we can go, after we increment, we could check the length of the list, which we also, oh wait, this is, this should actually be tentacle 0. Then we can say if it's greater than or equal to the exact length of the A path list, then we need to put it back down by 1. We need to change directions. We're going to be retracting after that. If we were on path B, similar types of stuff here, but of course this would be row B. Goes back to retracting. And I guess we should go ahead and hide or show inside of here as well, maybe? Do we do it after by 1? We'll have reset so that we're not gonna try to show one that doesn't exist. So access the segment within the list at the current index. Set hidden equals false so that it will show. Same thing here, but of course we're going to access it out of the B list. If it's retracting, Maybe we can do a list for tentacles 2, 1, and 3. Maybe these could be inside of a for loop. Whereas this one kind of has the different logic because of the A path and the B path. These ones won't, so maybe those will be easier to generify and put inside of a loop. So if we were retracting, we will subtract 1. We will check to make sure we don't go below 0. Well, let's see, we don't care which path we're on in that case, because we're counting down and we know 0 is the minimum. Before less than 0, if we're less than -1, we want to go back to -1. I'm just going to say plus 1. Basically, we're going to undo the -1 we did right here. We could just set it back to -1. That'd be fine as well, but... So we would plus 1. We would change directions. Go to extending, excuse me. The other thing we should do is we should switch. If we were on path A, we're going to change to path B, and if we were on path B, we're going to change to path A. We could use ternary, I guess. Guess it's going to be pretty long. Format it. I don't know what black would do with that line. Maybe it is cleaner to not use the ternary. It is path A, set it to path B, else set it to path A. And then after all of that's done, we need to hide the previous current index. So we could add 1 to it. But we also need to choose it out of the correct list. Theoretically, I guess we could do this before we minus. That way it'll just get hidden, and then we change the index after, and then next time that one will get hidden. I don't know that it matters too much. It's something to keep in mind, maybe. I guess if we do else... Actually, I think I do want the elif. Okay, hide the previous segment. We've already handled when we get back to the base. We're going to switch over back to extending, change out the path accordingly. Okay. The one thing we do want for sure is we still need time logic, so we also do need maybe a couple more variables like self last action time 0. Now equals time dot monotonic. We also need another one, actually. I should have made it before. I don't really need the two of these open anymore. Self. Actually, this will be one of these ones. Or base tick delay. And we'll subtract from there to make it quicker. What do we think? 3 times a second? 2 times a second? Maybe let's start on 0.5. It goes down from there. So if the last time we acted plus the delay is greater than or equal to, no, is less than or equal to the current time, then we know it's time to act. Actually, we're going to take all of this stuff, move it in, but we don't need pass anymore. So only act when it's time. And at this point, if we just keep calling tick, as long as the logic works how I'm thinking, it should theoretically, I think, extend and retract the first tentacle, path A and B, correctly. So let's go back to CircuitPy, and for now, let's just inside the main loop. Oh, it's already calling tick. Yeah, I don't think we need anything else, I guess. I mean, these all start visible, I suppose. Maybe we should start them all hidden. You know, maybe we should have a helper like hide all. Oh, you know what? Actually, I want this in this list also. The one before the split should be in both lists. In this case, actually means it'll get duplicated, but that's fine. I think you could just add lists, right? True. And we might as well just do that inside of a init. All right, let's give it a try. Crash? Nope. Ooh, a little fast. We're not updating the last action time. Seemed like maybe it was doing the right thing, though. Yeah. A little fast, honestly. Let me look at it straight on. Yeah, totally has the right logic. Does have the right logic. Everything's looking good there. Oh, you know what? I spy one segment here that's not hidden, which means it's probably not in its list. So that would be in the segment 1 list. We must be missing... Hmm. 0, 1, 2, 3? This one mad because of this? That wouldn't break anything, would it? Did I refresh? Zero, 1. It's 2. Alright, I figured this out. We can go here and actually zoom in. 0, 1. Is there, maybe there's a 2, 3, and a 4. I do have, yeah, 1A segment 4 here. There we go. That does seem to be working. I think we could maybe back off just a bit. I don't know, do we want to go a full second? That's feels like it's going to be awfully slow. Maybe it should be slow at the beginning. I wonder if we want a little bit... We shouldn't use sleep though, huh? I wonder if we want to wait a little bit in between each tentacle. Maybe we should Maybe this should be lower. And inside the tick, we should only process one tentacle at a time. That way we wait the delay in between each tentacle. And of course the delay will be much lower. We would like cut it in fourth so that it takes the time we have now to do a full cycle still. I think I like that better actually. Or next, I guess. I like current better. Current tentacle. I don't know. We might come up with a better name than that, but it's basically just going to be 0, 1, 2, or 3. This is actually going to say if current tentacle equals 0, and we're going to be doing all this. Nice. I patch Blinka. I like it. Basically at the very end, after we have processed the entire tick, we'll go self.current tentacle plus equals 1. And then reset it. Yeah, you might have made it, I don't know. Yeah. Tentacle, if it's greater than 3, put it back. Oh, but the problem is, actually, we want the other order. Okay. Let's say tentacle order. Current tentacle index. This will be an index within this list, but we'll actually use the number in the list to access the one inside of the tentacle list. Well, the tentacle order list. So we'll actually go self dot current tentacle index plus equals 1. Then we do have this. We set it to 0. But then here, instead of current, this will say if, I mean, I guess we could make a property, right? There we go. Then it adds 1 to the index. If it is 4, then it goes back to 0 for next time. So 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then back to 0. And it's accessing it from the list when it checks which tentacle's turn it is. So yeah, that should be fine. Just whipped it up for you. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing and for doing that. Yeah, I will we'll shrink it down a little bit, but I'll shrink it down. We'll have that be the oh, stretch it out. We'll have that be a little Easter egg when you get to 999 instead of just rolling over, or maybe in addition to rolling over, it'll show a blink it to you. We can maybe have her like intertwined in the pirate ship over there, and we'll make it scale such that blink is huge, kind of like the octopus. Because if you think about it, like this ship, basically the same size as this octopus, so like the octopus must be huge, right? And we'll have Blinka maybe intertwined on the mast or something, and stick her up there just like in the middle here, kind of, and make it look like she's wrapped around it or something. That'll be cool. Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, they probably never anticipated a person getting to 999, honestly. Probably didn't necessarily plan for the overflow. They just, my guess would be they just didn't, they ran out of storage, and just overflow is the default behavior when they +1 the next time. Whatever kind of actual computer they would have had at that time. Okay, so let's save this. It should more or less do basically the same thing as it was before. Except it's not, so why is that? Hmm. That doesn't the logic work anymore? Figured for sure we weren't getting inside of here, but seems like we are. Well, the rest of this should be the same, shouldn't it? Is this in the wrong level? Yeah. Okay, so then it went to Tentacle. I don't know. These are at the wrong level though, I think, right? These should be in here. Yeah. Basically, that was changing faster than the actual actions. It's weird that it never decides to show anything, though. I think we might have just gotten lucky, the way the timing works out. I didn't see it reset. Did it reset? Oh my gosh. The camera's dead. We're totally watching a still frame of the last thing the camera saw. Yep. That happened. So it probably was working. I didn't even look down at it. I just looked at through the camera. I need to get in the habit of looking down at the actual screen. It probably was working the whole time, honestly. So was this actually in the wrong spot, though? Yeah, we do want to only do that when we're taking action. We don't want to increase the tentacle. We're not actually taking action. Okay. So yeah, that's looking good. Game and don't watch, yeah. Yes. Game and not allowed to see the game happen. And that's pretty good. And this will make it so that we have this delay in between each tentacle, rather than having like the full delay and then boom, 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 boom. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, they go real fast. And then another long delay, and then boom, 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 they go real fast again. This will make it like a steady pace, which looks more realistic, I think, to how the actual game is in the video. So I think we got Tentacle 0 handled, and the thing is that Tentacle 0 honestly is the one that has different logic than the rest. I think we're maybe going to be able to get by with like being able to make this one dynamic, essentially. So we basically need a... We basically need some variables to represent our current things we care about. Zero, I don't think it matters because we're basically never going to use the 0 from this one since we have separate logic for 0. But I'm just going to choose 0A. Now we have a list of our lists. If I make a list of the directions, do they stay in sync with these variables if I update them in the list? Not sure this works how I'm thinking. I'm thinking that this might be making like copies of these integers, putting them into the list, which isn't what we want. I want these exact like objects in the list so I can manipulate them later, and whether I use the direct name or the one inside the list, I want them to stay sync basically. I'm not sure that that's actually going to be what happens. Okay. So cur tentacle list would be self dot tentacles accessing self dot cur tentacle. Hold on, I'll be back in a minute. Okay. That's Windows open. It's getting a little humid in here. Closed one of them. I left one open for the cat, but I turned on some fans as well to get some air movement. But now it might get too cold here in a little bit, but we'll see. Okay. This will access the current ones, and then basically we can just do all of the same logic, sans the path, but to these three, and then no matter which well, this would be else if we're not on tentacle 0, then we just treat all of them the same, but we pick it dynamically out of the list. And then we have similar logic. So if we are extending, if we are retracting, split again, because we basically have the same logic. I'll just skip the path parts. So we increment by 1, except for this is the bit where I don't know. If I just increment cur tentacle index here, that's not going to add to the one in here, is it? But I guess I could modify the one in here. This is where I get lost, though. I don't know if we have references or copies or values, or I just don't know how it's going to behave, basically. It's definitely what we want is not cur tentacle index plus equal 1. It's going to have to be, at a minimum, I think it's going to have to be this. Hopefully that will work. And then we don't care about path, but we do want to know if we are past the end of the list. So after we do add 1, if we are greater than the length of the current list, greater than equal the length of the current list, we subtract 1. change directions. And then either way, we set the current tentacle segment to be showing. So that will be inside the current list, accessing the current index. For that list. That's a tile grid. Hidden false means we'll show it. Okay, and then again, we don't have a path B. That's pretty much all of our logic for extending. So we add one. If we're at the end, we change directions to be retracting. We -1 back to get back to within range. We show the tentacle segment at the current index in this list. So then if we were retracting, have kind of the reverse of this. -1. This if statement is easier because we check for greater than or less than -1. We don't care about, it's not different per tentacle. Each tentacle has a different length, but each tentacle same lowest valid index, which is 0. And then if we are too low, put it back. So +1 to undo our minus. Change the direction. Extending. And then again, we don't have path A, path B. So we basically just need to hide the previous index, which we can essentially do something like this. But after this is our updated index, so we actually want to be +1 on it because that was the previous one. True. Okay. I don't know if it's gonna work, but looks like it is. It's a little too fast. I'm gonna slow it down. I think there's maybe one extra frame where at the base where it feels like it waits, but we saw that in the real game as well on 1 too, so I think it stays with none showing maybe for 2 frames instead of 1, but I'm not sure. Probably got a little bit of off by 1 in our logic somewhere. And our tentacles are getting out of sync, which is nice. I was, initially I was thinking that was due to randomly choosing, but it seems like it's really not necessarily due to randomly choosing, and more so just due to the fact that each tentacle has a different length. And then also tentacle 0 gets thrown off because of path A and B. Therefore, it takes a different number of cycles through the full group of the 4 to actually get all the way extended or retracted for each one, which is making a nice difference. Like, these ones are extended while these ones are retracted, and now this one is extended, but all of these are retracted. So because we would not, I don't think we want very many scenarios where all of them are extended at once, because then in that scenario, the player can't really do anything. We want, like, the player to be able to exist somewhere safely. Of course, there is always the boat, which is safe, but ideally we want, a spot on the board, which is safe as well. But this looks like we got the logic right, so I'm a little surprised all of that worked. I guess I must have a better sort of innate sense of how the values versus pointers versus copies versus whatever is going to be affecting inside of here. I was thinking we were going to run into trouble where maybe we made these changes and we weren't actually seeing them take effect because we were changing like a copy of a variable that's not the root variable, if that makes sense. But it looks like we have got the logic that I was aiming for, truthfully. And I do think this is probably not a bad speed to start on. In fact, I mean, it'll make the beginning of the game pretty easy, but we might even just tap this up again a bit, because it's still, like, it does go pretty slow at the beginning. And I mean, this is a pretty good rate still. Like, to start out with, I think we do want it, kind of slow so that we don't just blow them out of the water right away. You kind of have to wait for the first full thing, don't you? Oh, I used these buttons, that's right. Grab our treasure. Get out of there. Maybe waits an extra tick at the end as well, potentially. Think through the, we'll step through the logic on that a minute here, see if it is actually, it does feel like it's, oh, I don't have the, I don't have the collision, so even though I'm next to the tip, it's not actually making me lose. I can sit here and just keep stealing treasure. Take it all back. It's basically still redeeming. Wow. I mean, that's pretty unnatural too. Like, I spammed it for a very long time. You won't generally be able to do that. But that does, I think we've got our octopus pretty much laid out. Again, I'll probably, at some point, maybe not right now on stream, but at some point I will step through the logic at both ends of this to try to figure out, like, does it spend 2 game ticks or 8 game ticks, really, because it's 1 tick per tentacle. Does it spend 2 cycles of all 4 tentacles with the final one extended or not? It feels like the final one is out for kind of a long time. It's also possibly like I did slow it way down. It just feels like it's out for longer than the speed that it seems like it's taking them to extend, if that makes any sense. But it, you know, I don't know. I'm not timing anything. It could just be, for whatever reason, my perception is tweaked a bit on the last one versus the extending. So it's possible they are doing exactly what we intend, in which case maybe we'll tap that delay back down a tad. But we'll keep in mind that it's going to be changing as the game goes on as well, because we'll basically factor in where's it at? Back in Octopus, we'll factor in inside a tick we'll like manipulate the delay based on game score of some sort. I wonder though, we're gonna need to reach back out to the game or something, kind of. I wonder if we should pass the game in here. Because the game is what has the score. So if we're going to base that off of it, well, we're going to need access to the score. Pass the game right back into the Octopus there. That way it can be accessed from inside, and we'll be able to just go, you know, GameObject.score. I don't know, we'll use min or max or something. Somehow we'll limit it so that it doesn't get past a certain speed or something. But it will have some equation here that basically subtracts some number based on the score. Of course, it can't just be delay minus score. We need to like divide it out to make it a decimal. But we'll have something like that in there to speed it up as time goes on. Well, as the score goes up, more specifically. You can calculate the starting speed by watching the video. Yeah, I'm probably not going to. I'll probably just kind of pick a speed that feels good for this device and then run with that. I'm a lot more of a guess and checker than I am a do all of the math to figure out the exact one to start with. In a situation like that, I definitely could like meticulously watch the video and record the stamps and like figure out how long it's actually taking on there. And I could start there. But I can also just kind of like start on 0.75, you know, it's a little too slow, tweak it down to 0.6, it's a little too fast, tweak it up to 6.5. You know, just kind of play with it a bit until it feels right, you know, quote unquote feels right. So let's do the collision. I think that'll be a good thing to try to knock out now as well. I'll probably head out after that, I think, for the day. But this was the main thing I wanted to get knocked out, was the logic for all the tentacles. I'm glad we got this going. Essentially what we'll do now is... So who decides when the diver gets caught? I guess the game should be the one deciding that. Not the Octopus, not the diver, but the game. So inside of game tick, we will... We have a bit of a basic state machine here inside the game tick. We have normal gameplay, and then we also have depositing treasure animation, which is when the diver is pulling the treasure up into the boat. And then if our caught diver is showing, it will animate the caught diver as well, because he wags his hands and legs. So basically, when we are in normal gameplay, we're going to let the octopus tick, and then after we do that, we are going to say if self.player.curLocationIndex. Basically, I think we're just going to hard code these. So if we're currently at index 0, which if memory serves, that's this one right here. The diver in the boat is actually a separate entity within the code. Obviously, within the game, it's supposed to represent the same diver, but within our code, we actually have a separate tile grid for this one in the boat. It's different than the one that moves along these 5 spots here. And this one just hides whenever the one in the boat shows. And so I believe this is index 0, location index 0 for the diver player. So we'll say if they are at index 0, then we're going to check on tentacle segment 0A, 012, 0A2, octopus.tentacle 0A S T 0A S 2 tile grid. If that is not hidden, then caught diver. And also at some point we'll have like process lose life. And we pretty much will just have this for each one of these. So if the index is 1, then what we're checking is actually tentacle 0B segment 0, 1, 2, 3, I think. So if that tip is showing, then we caught the diver. 2. So this one 0, 1, 2. This is down here. So tentacle 1 is the one that catches this one. Tentacle 1, and it's going to be tentacle 1A 4. Three, 0, 1, 2, 3. So this one I think will be. This one it's unclear. I don't get like my guess is this is the segment that catches this diver. But it almost, it feels like maybe this one could as well. I'm not sure how the actual game goes. For now though, we'll keep it to this one. So we'll say 0, 1, 2, 3 is tied to tentacle 0, 1, 2. And so then 4 is down here at the treasure, and that one is getting caught by tentacle 3. So 2 must be the tip for that one. Okay, and we would need to process the life in each one of these. I just didn't copy that part. I mean, honestly, I guess we could do that inside of here if we wanted. So right now, it's not going to, like, reset or whatever. It's just going to let me play until I get caught, and then once I get caught, it's going to show the caught diver. and then it's never gonna skip past that, I'm pretty sure. But once we build in processing the life loss, then we'll subtract 1, we'll reset, we'll put the diver player back, we'll hide all the tentacles, like, we'll handle all of that once we fill this in. But we should be able to test at least if we can get caught right now. So I'll try to get a couple treasures first. Got back with some. Oh no. Oh, okay. See, what happened is Tentacle 0A, this tip right here was out. We checked diver index, location index 0, which technically was true because of what I was talking about before. We hide the diver and we show the boat. We need to also, for that one specifically, we also want to know, is the player hidden? Because if the player's hidden, their location index is always going to be 0, but they shouldn't be allowed to get hit because they're not technically at 0. It's just like because of the 2 different objects. Snuck through, got a couple real fast, and now we'll wait out Tentacle 0, A. Start going here. Come on, there we go. We'll try to beat Tentacle 0B on the way back here. It is maybe a tad slow. Feels a little easy right now. We also didn't build in the speed ups too, though, so like it will naturally get harder as you score. So I think we're gonna miss our chance here. Yeah, I can't really go in, or I'm gonna get caught trying to come back out. We have to wait out this one. But now that one's down. Oh, I got caught. Oh, okay, so when we get caught, we should also hide the diver. Really, that should just happen inside here, I think. Honestly, we should also only process movement if the player is... Well, we gotta be careful. We can't do it only if the player is showing. Maybe we can. Maybe we just only... So location index 0, they're allowed to... press the left button in order to deposit the treasure. Makes sense. If it's not index 0, then they move backwards if they are not hidden. For the right button, if they were showing the boat diver gets hidden, the player diver gets shown. That's perfect. That is what we want to happen. But for the right button here, we only basically want to process this if the player is showing. So if our player is hidden, then they will not be allowed to move with the right button press, except if it's because the boat diver is showing. If they get hidden because they got captured, then they won't be allowed to keep moving. Because the next thing that was going to happen is we were going to hide the player, but then they would still just keep moving, technically, when I'm pressing the buttons. We just wouldn't see it. Let's see. I found it helpful for print debugging state machines to set the state value to a descriptive string rather than the integer value. Printing self-current state is obvious without a decoder ring. That's true. Yep. Strings make the code easier to understand, with the trade-off just being take more to, more space to store. But in our case, the difference between a string and an int is not big enough to care about, probably. We could easily get by with the strings and it would make the code easier to understand. I should have went. Yeah, I will definitely. I think the default speed can get chunked up just a tad, but then I'll rejudge it after we do add the actual game getting faster based on your score. So we also don't want to get it like, inhumanly fast. Oops. Oh, okay, I got caught. So now my actual diver is not showing. The caught diver is. We will probably want, I guess, to do... Actually, I guess it's just... It's not that we need to do something different here, it's that... Inside a game tick, we don't want to... If the caught diver is showing, we don't want to tick the octopus. We want to just do the caught diver animation. So the rest of the tentacles should stop moving while the diver is caught. Took the beginning audio, ran it through the BPM counter. Beginning of the original game is 80 BPM. Nice, thank you. Yeah, I am happy to start there if somebody else is kind enough to help me out to actually figure out the tentacles aren't moving. Ah, backwards logic. We only want to tick the octopus if the caught driver is not showing. So yeah, I'm happy to, well, beats per minute, I'll have to divide that out to seconds to figure it out, but I am happy to start on that number without having to be the one to calculate it. So I definitely do appreciate that. Oh, I got caught by this one. And it does stop moving, which I think is exactly what the game does. These, the end ones here get hidden, and the end one here gets hidden. And the little tip, the 1B tip that's wrapped around the diver's head there, that one starts showing. The other two tentacles, though, Tentacle 0 and Tentacle 3, they just freeze. Whatever state they're in, they just stay there. Diver stays caught for, I don't know, a couple, maybe 2-3 seconds or something. And then at that point, we will subtract the extra life. We'll get rid of the caught diver. We'll go back to the boat diver. We'll allow the player to get control again, and they'll play the next life of their game. 700 milliseconds. Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. Both of you, for sure. 750, so that'll be 0.75 seconds. Okay. I think I'm going to call it a day for now on the stream. We got a lot knocked out today. We're pretty much to the point where the game is playable. The main thing right now is it's only playable in one... You only play one life, obviously. But in that one life, the behavior is... What is that? Oh, that's my mouse. Okay, I was like, why is there a plus on the screen? In the one life that you can play, everything is working how it's intended. We may still tweak it, of course, like maybe I figure out the treasure count is not quite right or something. The way I have it right now is you get 1 point when you grab the treasure out of the chest, and you get an additional point when you return it to the boat. And you can spam the right button here to keep shoveling more treasure into your bag, and then when you take it back to the boat, you drop all of it off. I do notice that, so we're on 66. Oh, it's not going up correctly, actually. I think it's adding the score, but not increasing the label, because then it jumped afterwards. Let's look in right button press. Yeah. Score. I guess, what is score? Score is a number. You know what we should do is score should be a property. We should do something like this. Why do I always get that? Come on. Oh, can you do plus equals like this though? You should be able to, right? Because it has the getter and the setter. This is wrong though, isn't it? It should be score.setter. Ow. So now when score changes via the property, it'll just automatically increment. Which might mess up the collecting on the boat. Oh, it's still not going up though. Does the score only register the scoops when... I think it's supposed to do both. I think you're supposed to get a little bit of points when you take it out of the treasure chest, and then more points when you do get back to the boat. I'll take a closer look here, though, at the gameplay. That's what I thought it was based on the last time I saw it, though. So we do have to skip ahead until they're actually playing with the score. So at the beginning, they're playing in, like, watch mode, I think. It doesn't actually keep the score. So he's on 0 right now. Now he's over there. Oh, no, he is staying. Okay, there we go. Yeah, no, he went up to 1. It is slower than mine. Mine is grabbing, I think, +1 score every button press. I guess it's possible he's just pressing the button slowly, and I'm spamming it faster. We may slow down the rate at which you get treasure from that. So but he did get some from grabbing it, and then whenever he gets back to the boat, as long as he doesn't get caught, then he'll get additional. Go. Go, 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 go. Nope. Wait, don't go. Okay. Go. And so then it drops him off there. And in this case, it went, what did it do? It went from 3 to 7, is that right? 4 to 7, no, 3. From 3 to 7. So it wasn't 1 to 1. The logic I have right now is you get +1 score when you take a treasure out, and then you get another +1 score when you drop that same treasure off. So each treasure is essentially worth... Oh, he did go back. That's how we got to 4, actually. So it went from 4 to 7, which is weird, because you would think if he got to score 4, that means that he got to at least 4 treasures. And if he got 4 treasures, you would think he would get up to 8. So I'm not sure what the logic is there. We may have to watch that longer one and see if we can figure out how the scoring is supposed to work. But what I have right now is +1 score for taking it, and then another +1 for dropping it off. Maybe we'll weight it a little heavier towards drop-off. I feel like we should probably weight it heavier towards drop-off. So like maybe you get 1 point for taking it out of the chest, but then 2 points for dropping it off. Something like that. Or maybe you get 1 point for every one you drop off, but only a half a point for each one you take out of here. So then the full thing is 1.5 instead of 2. I don't know. We'll play with that. We'll try to make it somewhat similar, especially if we're also going to reuse the 999 as sort of the game over, you win type breakpoint. Because right now I do think I can reset to play again. Right now it is a little bit easy to rack it up. The score, I think. It goes a little bit fast. If I just spam over here super fast, press a bunch, and then go back. Oh. Reset again? Why did we reset again? Gonna get caught by that trick again. I don't know. For some reason it stopped. Oh, string has no text. 174. 116. Well, oh, okay. Helpers 174. String object has no text. Score label is not a label. Oh. I see. Score label is supposed to be a label, but we overrode it with a string. I can get a lot here and then go back. Oops. Well, he says that as he got caught. Also, though, I notice, even though I got caught, I'm still dropping off treasure, which probably shouldn't happen. Yeah. Don't think the BPM I gave you is correct. The counter I was using isn't working right. No worries. We'll start it somewhere around there and... Oh, I got caught again. I do need to make it so it stops counting. I don't know how we got to that state, actually. It seems like... there was a tick where... Basically, I was able... So, like, if I move one more here, I should get caught. But I think I'm actually able to... Oh, I did it too slow, but... I think maybe I'm able to skirt past that one, even though I'm supposed to be getting caught by it. And then I do technically get caught by it. It shows me as the caught diver, but it also registers me as making it up to the boat, and so it starts ticking the points over. So, we've got kind of all of the building blocks together for this game at this point. Now it's basically just a matter of fleshing out the actual specific behaviors during gameplay. And possibly cleaning up some of the assets a bit as well. Although, honestly, it looks pretty good, if I may say so. I think the way this turned out is pretty nice. There is some pixelation, like on these last ones here, you can kind of see individual pixels, especially if you look super close, whereas these are obviously curvy, but, like, we can't make the curves, right? These are, like, cut with a laser cutter or something that made them that shape. We have two-dimensional grid of pixels, so... We're always going to be a little bit more blocky than the original, but I think we're looking pretty good. So yep, that's what I'll be doing next time, is just fleshing out the rest of the actual logic for the gameplay. But we've got kind of the functional building blocks of it together. I think this has been a good exercise of breaking a game down into, the programmatic objects that are most helpful for programming it. In our case, we ended up with the diver player, representing this one that moves back and forth here. We had the octopus, which manages all the tentacles and holds all their tile grids and everything. And then we had the game object, which basically is the higher level, orchestrating everything. It holds the player object and the octopus, and it's in charge of, like, making all the machinery go as it's supposed to. So we're getting pretty close. We'll work on that next time. looking very playable, looks legit too. Yeah, I'm happy with how close we're coming out to the original. I'm definitely digging it. So thank you, everybody. C. Grover, DJ Devin, thanks for pulling those times. Even if it ends up being not exact or whatever, that I'm happy to have a starting place to go from. And C. Grover for giving me the seconds on that one, or the milliseconds. Thank you to everybody else that was watching. I think, we saw Neradoc. Who else did we see today? We saw a couple other. Axel Magnus. Hope you enjoy, if there's more races or whatever. I don't know if they do one a weekend or whatever, but hope you enjoy the... if you have a long weekend, hope you enjoy the weekend either way, but if you got a long one, then that's even better. C. Grover, Johnny, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, that's what we had. So yeah, thank you, everybody, and I'll see you all next time. Have a good day and a good weekend.